So I'm going to learn you guys about ascended breakpoints. To begin here, I'm just going to assume you know what breakpoints are, and I'm going to show you why I'm doing a live stream / video on this subject. This is a graph against all of Regice's movesets averaged in cloudy weather with no dodging, and I'm just looking at Hariyama, Breloom, Machamp, and Blaziken for this. So the numbers next to their names indicate the friendship tier that's being represented here at level 40 in cloudy weather. So you got 0, and that means no friendship at all. 1, which means good friends, and pretty much everybody you're raiding with should be good friends. And then you got great friends at 2, ultra friends at 3, and then best friends at 4. I don't know if you guys noticed this, I hope you do. But Breloom, Blaziken, and Hariyama all have this massive leap at best friends, but Machamp is still staying linear. Well, the reason for this is because Breloom, Blaziken, and Hariyama are all hitting a higher breakpoint for their counterattack that becomes revealed at the best friend tier, while Machamp doesn't have that. And I will show that to you on the breakpoint calculator. So right now, Game Presses and every other breakpoint calculator is not updated for friendship. This is Don151's spreadsheet, and it is updated for friendship. Alright, so here you see basic breakpoints, right? So a breakpoint is the level in which your Pokemon's fast move does 1 more damage to a specific raid boss target, right? So if you have a basic Machamp, no weather boost, nothing fancy, then at level, what would that be? At level 28, your counter, instead of doing 6 damage, does 7 damage, which is pretty dang huge. If you're sitting there like, Ryan Swag, that's only 1 damage, well, that's 1 base damage, which usually translates into more than 1 DPS. And if that still sounds low to you, the difference in 1 DPS is basically the difference between a Ho-Oh and a Blast Burn Charizard. So 1 DPS in Pokemon Go is a pretty big deal, to be honest. So you really want to hit these breakpoints. And I imagine many of you are already aware of breakpoints and how they work. Well, one thing that's not as popularized as I feel it should be, there's weather-specific breakpoints. Because weather increases your damage, changes what the breakpoints are. And this change is only beneficial, but the breakpoint might not fall on level 28. It might be a little bit higher now. And you have to go a little bit higher to do crazy ton more damage. So I'm going to show you here, give him a cloudy weather bonus. Alright, so that updated, and you can see that instead of hitting 7, you're now hitting 8. And if you power up your Machamp to level 38, then you're going to be hitting a breakpoint, which makes it do 9 damage. And because of that, Machamp is just like crazy stupid strong on this particular raid. Let me bring up my raid graph for you. So this graph shows the performance of the Pokemon under their specific weather boosts. So you see Machamp with this cloud right here. Well, all the way down here at 11 is Machamp without the cloud bonus. So if you got cloudy weather, then your Machamp is doing much more swag. And, you know, similar for any other Pokemon, getting the weather bonus. But I just want to highlight how breakpoints are also part of that weather bonus. So, not weather Machamp, weather Machamp. And if this weather Machamp wasn't at level 38, if it was below level 38, then it would probably be kind of around where Flareon is, just to give you an idea of the weather boosted breakpoint kind of phenomenon going on. With friendship, you can take this even further beyond. So if I take the friendship multiplier here on Don's spreadsheet, and I take it to good, then you'll see that the 9s, you just have to be at a lower level to hit that 9 breakpoint. So in a way, it kind of helps lower level players out, hit those higher breakpoints and stuff like that. You know, it's pretty nice. Save on Stardust if you got good friends. If you got a great friend, you can save on even more Stardust. If you got ultra friends, even more Stardust. And best friends, even more Stardust saved. And of course, if you power up your Machamp to like level 40 and you're getting the best friend bonus, as you saw at the previous graph, you still do have linear increases in your performance because your dynamic punch damage is also going up, even though your fast move damage is staying stagnant at the number 9. Alright, so I'm going to dial this down back to no friendship bonus, and we see here that Machamp has 9 damage on its counter at the max level basically on the breakpoint there. Well, let's take a look at Breloom, and you'll see that Breloom is also hitting 9 on its counter. Now, a lot of people feel Breloom should have higher DPS than Machamp, like it should be a glass cannon, but it just isn't. And one of the main reasons why Breloom isn't better than Machamp is because they're both hitting the same breakpoint on counter. Breloom's doing 9 damage, Machamp's doing 9 damage, Machamp's a bit more tanky. What's the better Pokemon? But if you go to a good friend, you still got the 9. Great friend, you still got the 9. Ultra friend, you still got the 9, but y'all know what's coming next. You go to best friend, and you go even further beyond. And 9 can turn into 10 if you're at least level 37.5, and your Breloom now deals more damage per second than Machamp does. So, yeah, pretty big deal for Breloom there. And this same kind of phenomenon is also experienced by Hariyama, where I think it turns from like 8 to 9, and then you also have Blaziken that also has the 9 to 10 shift. So pretty big deal for those Pokemon. If you go back to the graph here, you'll see that Breloom on this graph, when you average out all the battles, still has basically the same DPS as Machamp, even though, like, you'd think because its counter is doing more damage, it should have more DPS. Well, there are other factors at work here that hold Breloom back from surpassing Machamp. It's just with this ascended counter damage, it comes a little bit closer to Machamp rather than being like outright outclassed in every way. Main thing holding Breloom after this, like back behind Machamp, is that Machamp is more bulky. If Machamp gets hit by a blizzard, it can turn that blizzard damage into more dynamic punches. If Breloom gets hit by a blizzard, it just gets KO'd. So, kinda lame. One thing that's really interesting though is 3 players using maxed out Cloudy Weather best friend Brelooms can actually trio an Earthquake Regice. Yeah, they have like a 87-88% chance of doing that successfully and repeatably, where a Machamp, if they're level 40, Cloudy Weather, best friends, they only have a 20% chance of pulling that off. So in fights where Breloom can get an advantage from its typing and hit those ascended breakpoints, it can actually surpass Machamp in performance and be a bit more useful. So I think that's pretty cool for Breloom there. It's also pretty massive for Blaziken, where you see like the leap for Breloom is pretty big, and the leap for Hariyama is pretty big, but that leap for Blaziken is freaking massive. And the reason why the leap is massive for Blaziken is because Blaziken uses Focus Blast, a single bar charge move. And if you're not familiar with breakpoints, Pokemon that use single bar charge moves benefit a lot more from hitting those breakpoints because they're going to be doing their fast move damage more often than these multi-bar charge move users. I know the best friend ascended breakpoint doesn't really put Blaziken, beyond Machamp or Hariyama or maybe even Breloom, but it is still a really big deal for Blaziken, and this is just a Regice matchup. Depending on the matchup, depending on circumstances, there may now be scenarios where Blaziken finally, for once in its feathered life, beats out these other fighting types as a fighting type Pokemon. So I think that's pretty cool for Blaziken. These are best friend bonuses, and it takes 3 months to become best friends with somebody in Pokemon Go, and that's if you raid with them or accept their gifts or give them gifts or whatever every single day. A lot of people are going to be stuck at Great Friend or Ultra Friend for maybe even a year, So what's the great deal here with this best friend nonsense, right? And then Regice is leaving, before 90 days is up, most likely, unless they re-release it, so this isn't very helpful. Well, I just want to point out here, right, this is actually very coincidental that these 3 fighting type Pokemon all hit an ascended breakpoint at the best friend zone. When I looked at the fire types, things were a little bit more dynamic and interesting. So this is using fire type Pokemon. So we got Flareon, Charizard, Moltres, and Entei on this graph. The 0, once again, represents having no friend bonus at all, and the 4 represents being a best friend. So as you can see right away, if you're just at least good friends with somebody, the basic base level of friendship that you should basically be with everyone on your friends list, right? Yeah, then you get that ascended breakpoint. With the clear weather bonus, with the good friendship bonus, your Flareon will be able to hit a breakpoint that takes its fire spin damage even further beyond what it could be right now to the next level, giving it DPS that is surpassing that of Entei. So pretty big deal there. You can see that Charizard behaves a lot like Machamp did, where it doesn't really hit a breakpoint. It's still a really good Pokemon, and it gets linear gains and maintains its goodness, but there's no like big leap for it. And then if you look at Entei, Entei actually reaches its ascended breakpoint at Ultra Friendship. So, you know, normal Entei, good friend Entei, great friend Entei, you know, you can take a nap. I mean, you're going to use Entei anyways if it's clear weather, right? But if you're ultra friends with somebody, Entei is now as powerful as Moltres. I know in my infographic I repped him as both being supreme Pokemon, but like we all knew in our hearts that, you know, Moltres, you see it on the graph, it's slightly better than Entei, right? Well, if you're an ultra friend, an ultra Entei is as good as an ultra Moltres. 3 months passed and you become best friends with someone, well, Moltres hits a best friend breakpoint with the clear weather bonus, which takes it even further beyond. So yeah, this is just giving a pretty solid example on how friendship bonuses can drastically improve your performance in raids. And if you're aware of breakpoints and how weather bonuses can change your breakpoints and even unlock even higher breakpoints than what we've currently been able to imagine, how being aware of that can just make your performance just crazy good. Yes, that is a Blast Burn Charizard. I should have clarified like Charizard BB, but like it already gets a little bit text intensive. Tricky business here with those meta relevant community day moves. Hopefully we get community day TMs or something in the future. That'd be really nice. So yeah, just like how your breakpoints can change with weather, and your breakpoints can change with friendship and weather, yeah, your breakpoints can change with just normal friendship, no weather bonuses as well. But those are also different breakpoints, different influences, which is why it's handy here to have these nice little spreadsheets. So all you gotta do is say like, I'm using a Machamp, right? And we're up against the Regice raid, the Regice, whatever you want to call it. And you're not getting the weather multiplier, right? But you're with a good friend. Okay, you can sleep. Great friend. Boom. Right there. Great friend. Y'all gonna be great friends with somebody before the week's done. And at level 38, your Machamp, even outside of a weather bonus, will be able to hit a higher breakpoint. This number 8 breakpoint, if you want to see it on the graph, the Machamp here, that's a number 9 breakpoint, and the Machamp here, that's a number 7 breakpoint. So the number 8 breakpoint would reasonably be where a weather boosted Flareon is, you know, more or less. Really significant because right now everybody's saying, play this raid by the weather, you're going to use your weather boosted Pokemon. Well, here's the situation where a friend boosted Machamp is at the level of a weather boosted Pokemon that's not the right weather that's in. But yeah, I already know, guys, as I already showed you, a good friend Flareon also hits an ascended breakpoint. So yeah, all of this is relative. It's going to be interesting to see how this affects how I make my suggestions in the future and how I do my graphs in the future. I don't think it's going to be that big of a hassle, since it's reasonable to assume that people are going to have a great friend bonus. And then if people want to look at best friend bonuses, well, you know, I got like 3 months to figure out what I'm going to do. So, right? So that was a clip from my live stream SwagTips. SwagTips streams every Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Time on the Twitch channel SwagTips. This particular live stream was a random bonus one I did, If you want to stay up to date with the bonus live streams, then you should follow me on Facebook or follow me on Twitter. Links to those social medias in the description to stay up to date with the bonus live streams. If you like this content and you want to see more like it, then make sure to subscribe to SwagTips. And if you got any questions on these ascended breakpoints, then comment below, let me know. I'll be happy to answer them for you. Machamp still progresses pretty linearly though. Man, how do I say that word? So yeah, Breloom, Blaziken, and Hariyama are all having these massive leaps in